my cause, O Yahuwah, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler, and stand up for mine help. Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me, and say to my soul, I am thy salvation. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Let them that be as the chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the I am chase them. Let their way be dark and slippery. Let the angel of the I am persecute them. For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit, which without a cause they have digged for my soul. Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that hath hid catch himself into very destructions, and let him fall. Let my soul shall be joyful in Yahuwah. It shall rejoice in his salvation. All my bones shall say, the I am, who is like unto thee, which delivereth the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy that spoileth him. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom. I behaved myself as though I had been my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one that mourneth for his mother. But in my adversity they rejoiced, and gathered themselves together, yea, abjects together themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me, and ceased not. With hypocritical mockers and feasts they gnash upon me with their teeth. I am, how long wilt thou look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling from the lions. I will give thee thanks in the great congregation, and I will praise thee among much people. Let not them that are my enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. For they speak not peace, but they devise evil matters against them that are quiet in the land. Yea, they open their mouth wide against me, and say, Ha ha, our eyes have seen it. This thou hast seen, O Yahweh. Keep not silent, O Tatan Zambi, be not far from me. Stir up thyself and awake to my judgment, even unto my cause, my God and my King. Judge me, O Yahuwah, my God, according to thy righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. Let them not say in their hearts, Ha! Who would have it? Let them not say, we have swallowed him up. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at my hurt. And let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteousness cause. Let them say continually, let the I am be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servants. And my tongue shall speak of thy righteousness, of thy praise all the day long. Psalms chapter 35. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed over the minds, thoughts, and hearts of men. And let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. Oh, we give God the praise. We give God the praise. We give Yahweh, Yahuwah, Ya Allah. Yeah, we give him the praise. Yes, whatever language you might call him in, we give God the praise. All praises to the Creator. All praises to the Almighty, who lives forever and ever. Yes, his name is precious, even more precious than gold. He's to be exalted because his deliverance is yours. His victory is yours. His vengeance is yours. Yes, because after the righteous do they seek. They seek to be God. They seek to be of power. They seek to magnify themselves above you as though they are a God. But yet God is so mighty and merciful to usward that he has caused our enemies to be put to shame. Even this day, even as we praise him and magnify him, let us remember that God will be victorious over all the things that we see and hear in this world, in this day and time. Yes, glory to God. All praises to the Most High. Yes, we're in the book of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. Yes, 2 Samuel and chapter 4. We might go into chapter 5. 2 Samuel chapter 4. And we're going to start with verse 1. We try to read these scriptures out, because they're even the Psalms, if you note and listen carefully, read carefully in your devotions, the Psalms hold so many things that the psalmist had experienced of the I am. These were way before time. These are historical things and historical experiences that those who have encountered the I am, the Sanini Nanini, had, and even David and all that he did, even Saul, even in his foolery, even all the other ones that have praised God with a song from Ruth to Saul all the way through, that God had blessed and they just exalted. It teaches us how to exalt God, how to exalt our Creator, how to praise him. It's just not saying all praises, all praises. No. Praise. What is a praise? I want you to look that up. I want you to do your homework on what is a praise. What is an exaltation? See, we're dealing with English, but let us think that these people were Africans. Period. No, don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. They were Africans. Period. As the Hamites are Africans, so are the Shemites Africans. The Japhites, they're more northerners. They're your Mongolians or your Mongols and your Caucasians. They have come to that point. It's really a confusion because so many things have crossed, so many things have went this way and that way. They're your Indians, even from India, from Hindustan. Yes, they are your Indians. You notice how they get darker. As they get lighter, the hair will straighten, then it gets lighter, and it gets lighter, and the hair straighten, and then the nose straighten, and everything else. And, you got from dark to tan to, or should I say brown, or whatever they call it. We're really not black. We are dark brown. Then you got, as the brown hue gets lighter, it gets whiter. So really, what should be at the top of the skin chart should be black skin, or should I say dark brown skin. The blackest skin ever. That should be at the top of the skin tone chart, because really it is superior above. The lighter your skin is, the less pigment you have. Excuse me. And this dark skin is superior, for it can withstand the sun much more than any lighter skin. See, the lighter skin try to tell you to wear sunscreen. Yes, you should. But the fact is, you don't need it as much. They're very rarely, you should, the darker your skin, the rarer you shouldn't even need, should I say, to be darker. You don't need that. A lot of things you don't need in the sun and how you absorb warmth. You can even withstand the colder temperatures better because your skin is absorbing the heat. I mean, you feel cold because you're not climatized. That's it. You can withstand sub-zero weather just as good. Your skin, because you have to realize the lighter your skin, the more it's reflecting the sun. The darker your skin or the darker the item, the more it absorbs the sun. So don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. Now, you have to become acclimatized. That's what it is. Now, we're in 2 Samuel chapter 4. And now we know that Abner's dead. And it reads, "And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled." Why? Because Abner killed a man wrongfully. That's what happened. And so he was demised by that person's, should I say, kin, because that was murder. And according to the word of the commandment of the Most High, Israel agreed that if one murders, then he will have to be demised himself. But the heathen doesn't follow that. They say they're Christians, they say they're this, and they follow the law. The law is done. That's just to justify the heathen. It's not to justify the darker skin. It's not to justify, it's to justify them, not you. If you was to do these things, you would be put in prison for the rest of your life, or either on death row most of the time. And it depends on the hideousness of them folk, as he says. One of our brothers says, shout out to him. Them folks, as they say, they would just maybe give them a few. I mean, even your babies are no good to them in their circles, and the rest of them just look aside and turn their heads and say nothing unless it's one of them. So we have to be careful and look at ourselves. Not that we are that much more, but we are that much more sensitive to our babies and our young than they are. They don't see us as they see themselves. No, they don't. So here we are. He was deleted justly. Now, he says, and Saul's son had two men that were captains of the bands, and the name of one was Baanah, and the other, the name was Rechab. And the sons of Rimmah, a Beerothite, the son of Benjamin. For Beeroth was reckoned to Benjamin, or Benoni. And the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners until this day, the day that this was compiled and put together so that you might understand it. But that's not the way they talked. See, this is why we seek to know the original text. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame at his feet, and he was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul, Jonathan, out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, and he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. Now you have to realize God has a mandate towards Saul that he was going to destroy his house, period. And the sons of Rimmah the Beerothite, and Rechab and Baanah, and went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, that's Mephibosheth's father or grandfather, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither to the bed in the midst of the house, as though they would have fetched wheat, but they smote him under the fifth rib. The fifth rib again. You ain't going to get away from death from that fifth rib, a stab in the fifth rib. That is a stab that you cannot recover from. It cannot be healed. And Baanah, his brother, escaped. And when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him, and took his head that got him away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron. In other words, they got rid of him. I mean, this is the guy that was giving all Judah, was giving him a lot of trouble. So behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life. And in other words, God he did not ordain Saul anymore. After he destroyed Saul, the house of Saul is destroyed. He cut off the head, and the rest are following. Which sought thy life, and I am avenged the king this day of Saul, of his seed. See, they say Lord. I don't like the word Lord, because anything can be a Lord. A dog can be a lord over his puppies. Come on here. Now the king said this day of Saul and of his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, and the sons of Rimmon and the Beerothite, and said unto them, As the I am liveth, who has redeemed thy soul out of all adversity? And when one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings. See, he said he's trying to bring good tidings, hopefully, because David had been running from Saul for a long time. I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. This was what we read in the previous chapters. I mean, the guy, he's trying to get get a cookie. How much more then when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his own bed, shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand and take you away from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them and cut off their hands and their feet and hanged them above the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner, that was his son, in Hebron. Now, these things were not foreign or wicked to these people to have seen death as such. It's just the same thing as they rejoiced at the hangings and death of those that have done nothing to them back in earlier times here in the United States. Even in Africa, they've done these things, rejoicing and stealing their body parts and thinking of us as animals. Very hideous. I mean, why would you even deal with Halloween? But yet when the same tidings come upon them, they're going to holler and scream to the point where they will lose their life even before you even touch them. See, the fact is that a murderer can murder, but when it comes to his own demise, he is shown as a coward in many cases. Yes, in many cases. Let's go into 2 Samuel chapter 5, just for a few. And then came all the tribes of Israel to David. I'm in verse 1, chapter 5 and verse 1. The book of Samuel, 2 Samuel, chapter 5 and verse 1. And he said, all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Now then came all the tribes, saying, we are kin to you. We are thy bone and thy flesh. We're not your wife, we're your bone, we're your kinfolk. We all come from the same man, Jacob. Also in time past when Saul was king over us, thou was he that leddest out and broughtest in Israel. And I am said to thee, thou shalt feed my people Israel. This is show you in the gospel where they told Peter to feed his sheep. I wonder how many sheep did Peter feed? Because one thing about it, God had, at the time that this so-called Christ was put in Israel, Israel was scattered all over the world still. I mean, you had those in the Americas that have somehow got over there. You had those that have fled into parts of what we call today Africa, and all the way to Morocco and Hamite country and all kind of stuff. I mean, even some have even went up into the parts of the land of Japheth and his hordes. So how could this ISIS? It's just a thought. I mean, you had people spreading the gospel, but they went into you have people that have died, but the law and Moses and the statutes and commandments they all knew it. The whole world knew it. This was not just good news. It was news that was already here since the beginning, even before the flood. The news was there. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. It was there. Not as you see it. Some things are omitted. They are omitted and omitted. It's even omitted today. This world knew the universal law. Even Egypt, when they called it and said they had the negatives, or whatever you want to call it, I have not. They had the universal law of God, but they were wicked in their own rights before the Most High. And even as the narrative put, the Egyptians did not even accept the God of Israel at the time they were delivered out of Egypt. So where do you have this thing? Where do you have it? So all the elders of Israel came. Let me go to verse 2. And also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou was he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And the I am said to thee, thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be captain over Israel. Captain either way, king, captain, or whatever. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the I am. And they anointed David king over Israel. In other words, all the leaders of the tribes and lands and captains of thousands, captains of tens, captains of fives, even the heads of household came to King David and anointed David king over Israel. He was already anointed by the Most High through the prophet Samuel. He was already there because at that same time, Saul was rejected of the Most High because of his foolery. Now David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. 40 years was David reigning over Judah and all of Israel. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem, he reigned 33 years over all Israel. Now, he reigned in Judah. This was in the land that he was at now. He was right now in, as we're talking. Now, to get in Jerusalem, the Jerusalem was the city of David. The Jerusalem was where David was. And if you look and you really pay attention, Tel-Arad fits that description. Yes, it fits the description. It says now, and David was 30 years old and 5. And Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all of Israel and Judah. Now the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites. Now this is where we get to Tel-Arad at. Tel-Arad is the city of the Jebusites. There was no temple there. There was no temple at all until Solomon, until, those after and such. The inhabitants of the land which spake unto David, saying, except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come in hither, thinking David cannot come in hither. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, the same is the city of David. And David said on that day, whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind that I hated of David's soul, these are the ones that God told him to deliver out of the land, erase them, get them out. These were Canaanites. Now, also, that same gutter is in and can be identified. It can be identified in Jebus. It can be Tel-Arad, which the Arabs call Tel-Arad today, which was after a Canaanitish king named Arad. Yes, they have a city not too far from Tel-Arad. It's called Arad. And this is found in the book of Jasher. So some of you who went to South Africa and you went to these places, I'm sorry, even the man who wrote the book, Negroes, Hebrews to Negroes, you're wrong, period. You're just wrong. I mean, you really should have done your homework even more thoroughly. I mean, your book is good, your movie is good, and all the rest of you, yes, what you say is good, but it's not right. It's not precise. Look up. And I want you to go. Many of you have money. I'm not a rich man. You got money? Go ahead. Go to Tel-Arad and look. Look up my brother. The one he's a man from the islands. Yes. Beautiful brother. I mean, God has blessed him with children and everything. He does everything according to the law of the Most High. Yes, he calls him Yah Allah. That means I am God. I don't care how you try to live. All right, he talking about Allah, Allah. No, Christians have gotten you into that mindset. The Caucasian Christians got into that mindset where that's evil to say Allah. No, it's not. It just means God, period. Okay. Now, in Telerad, there is this gutter. David said look up the real Jerusalem on YouTube. Yes, look it up. Just type it in on your search, the real Jerusalem, and you're going to see a Rastafarian older man, with his hair up, and a certain one from one of the countries in Africa. He's showing him exactly through scripture where the real city of David, even Jerusalem, is. Okay? That Jerusalem that you see that those other people were proclaimed that they were the real Israelites, that is another Jerusalem. That's not that's Jerusalem is mentioned in the book of, should I say, is in the book of Jasher, but it talks about the king of Jerusalem. Yes, talks about the king. This is Africa we're talking about. This is still Africa. Regardless of what the Arabs say it is, it's Africa. Now, he said, whosoever getteth up to the gutter, this is Telerad, and even the signs in that one city of David in Telerad has Canaanite, the city. This is a Jebusite temple. But then they came back and they said this is the temple that was during the time of David. Now, everything's there that could not be carried away, but it's nothing. It's just ruins. Period. And nobody's there. Nobody lives there. It's cursed. Really, to tell you the truth, nobody wants to live there. The Arabs don't even want to live there. They have some crops down the hill, but that's it. Nevertheless, they got in the gutter. Okay, and the lame and the blind that are hated of David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. Wherefore they said, the blind and the lame shall not come into the house. So David dwelt in the fort and called it what? The city of David. It's a fort. Look. It looks like a fort. This is why they say it's a fort. They knew where it was. Come on, him! He called it the city of David, and David built around about from Millo and inward. And David went on and grew great, and the I am God of hosts was with him. And Hiram, king of Tidal, sent messenger to David, and cedar, and trees, and carpenters, and even we're going to stop right here, and masons, and they built David an house. The ruins. This Jebus city, the city of David, the place of the first permanent temple. Right there in Telerad, before your eyes. But they tell you all kind of lies and tell you that's not true. And with this, we're going to say, if you really do your due diligence and study this place, and to those of you who have the money and means to go and visit this place, do it. I bet you can't find this in South Africa. You're not going to find it, although you might have some names there. You're not going to find it in Kenya. You're not going to find it anywhere, but only Northeast Africa, which is the land of Shem. Period. They're all Africans, no matter what you say. Many Caucasians don't like that. I ain't going to say all, but many don't like that part. But the Bible is written by Africans. The God of Israel is an African God. Period. He is the African God, the God of all the universe. Yes, of all things. Yes, you have to remember also that the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve was not created in the Garden of Eden. They were placed in the Garden of Eden. Come on here. The Garden of Eden and where Adam and Eve were created were a different place. Go back and read it. Go back to the book of Jasher, the book of Enoch. Go back to the book of Jubilees. They were not in the book. They were not in Eden. Eden was created. Eden means it's paradise, beautiful garden. When you say paradise, you can have a beautiful garden at your home. You can have a paradiso. It's, should I say, it's a word derived by the Persians in the Persian language. These were Africans too. They were black folks, yes. They were black folks, okay. But either way. But God changed it for some reason. He did a work here because many of you have rejected him. So he sends among the nations these strong delusions to make you think that this Isis and all these other religions are it. When it was right, it's there before your eyes from the beginning. There's the universal law, that is have God, the 10 commandments, or you can call them the negatives if you want to. Whatever you want to call them is up to you. If you want to go by Egyptians and argue all that stuff, no, it was given to the whole world. But yet God chose a people that he would show himself strong in, but they didn't want this God to be strong in. And with that, we're going to say, if you do that, and he be strong in you, you will have peace.
Walk with me.